Okay, I'm first going to show you how to make a grid on your photo and then how to transfer and outline the actual photo. So basically I'm going to measure across the top. I've cut all your pictures down to 6 inches wide. So you're going to do these little tiny hash marks all the way across the top so you get 6 inches measured out. I flipped my paper around so I can do this also along the bottom. These little marks are really important because if you get them off just a little bit and they're not at every inch mark, you're going to have a really hard time making the lines. Now right here, I realize my paper is 8.5 and I want to put that extra ½ inch down at the bottom, so I decided not to put it right up here. I decided to flip my paper around so that I can put the extra ½ inch at the bottom instead of the top. So if you have trouble figuring that out, I can kind of help you with that. So there I go, I'm putting the lines 1 inch marks all the way down, and you see that extra ½ inch down there at the bottom. Now whenever I put it on this side too, I can account for that ½ inch at the bottom instead of at the top. So I'm putting just a little hash mark there. Now I'm going to connect the lines. So I'm making horizontal lines. And on this one, you don't have to do it super lightly. I mean, if you want to be able to see the lines, that's probably a good idea. So I'm just lining up my ruler right at the inch markers, and I'm connecting them with a straight line right across the photo. And I'm holding the ruler down as I do this. I'm trying to be very careful not to let it slide while I do this. Okay, now for the ones going across, I'm lining up my ruler again on those inch marks. And I'm just putting that all the way across the photo. Okay, so when you do this, you want to make sure, that you're not skipping any of these hash marks and going in a diagonal line. Really watch what you're doing, making sure that you're going straight across, making even boxes. These are 1 inch squares, and if you get it wrong on this paper, you're going to have a hard time transferring this whole thing onto the bigger paper. So just take your time. There's no rush. Try to concentrate on what you're doing. Now I'm going to number across the top. That first top left one is always going to be a 1, and then I'm going to measure or go all the way over to 6, and then when I go down the paper there should be 8, and then that little half bit down there, actually, yeah, there you go. I'm just going to kind of shade that in because I'm not going to actually draw that part. Okay, so now here comes the fun part. I'm going to use my pencil to trace over each little part of my photo, so that way whenever I'm transferring this using the grid, I'm transferring the lines that I'm drawing right now. Okay, so I'm going to use the lines I'm putting on there now as a reference, so when I redraw it larger, these are the lines I'm actually going to be putting on the big paper. Hair can be a little tricky. Basically, I'm just drawing some lines so that I can think about what direction I'm going to want those little fingerprint stamps to go in. So I'm going from the top down because I have bangs. If you have hair combed to one side, you would just kind of follow that direction based on how it looks. Okay, I'm going to do the large paper the same way I did the smaller paper, except this time I'm measuring by 3 inches instead of by 1 inches. So at the top I'm making little hash marks at the 3, 6, 9, 12, and then this paper, and 15, and then 18 is the edge. So I flipped it upside down, and I'm doing that same thing along the bottom now at 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. And this is going to be on the board so that you can reference those numbers. Now for the sideways lines, it's a little trickier. And I know you can't really see my little hash marks, but I'm going to line up the ruler And I'm going to mark all the way to the 18, which is the very end of the ruler. And then I'm going to slide the ruler down to that 18, so that 1 and 18 are like on the same little hash mark. And then that way I can mark it again at the 3. And that's going to break it up, and I'll do that along the bottom exactly the same way. It's easier for me if I'm making my mark going upwards. So I always like to flip my whole paper. So there I go, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. And then whenever I get to 18, I'm going to slide that down and mark it again at the 3, so that way I get that last bit. Now crossing from hash mark to hash mark, luckily going this way, the ruler is perfectly 18 inches, so those hash marks line up pretty simply. On this paper, draw lightly. Do not press down with your pencil as hard as you can. We will be erasing these grid lines later, so if you do it really dark, you're going to have a hard time erasing this part. So draw lightly here. I'm connecting each hash mark at the 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and then at the 18 also. Now, whenever I get ready to do my paper the long way, okay, so right now I'm kind of doing the shorter distance across. When I'm doing it the tall way from top to bottom, my ruler is not tall enough, okay? So what I decide to do, because it's not going to fit, is I go down somewhere on one of those middle points. I realize this is not going to work, okay? So I decide to measure across right here also, marking at the 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 mark. And now I'm going to draw a line from the 3 at the top to the 3 in the middle, and then slide my ruler down and go from the middle to the bottom. This way I have a nice straight line from top to bottom, and I get my measurements hopefully just right. Remember to draw lightly when you're doing these lines. If you do it too hard, or if your ruler slides around and gets all messed up, see, I have to do it from the same direction. I have to drag my pencil like down basically whenever I do this. So I have to move my whole body. You might want to stand up to do this, so that way you don't get your lines all askew on your paper. Okay, so I'm just drawing the line, and then I'm sliding my ruler down. I'm lining it up at that middle hash mark with the bottom line hash mark. And that's pretty much how you make the grid. Now the last thing I'm going to do on this video is number my grid, so that at the very top left corner I'm going to draw a 1, and then a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 across, so that way the 6 boxes across will match up with the 6 boxes across on my little mini photo. So when I get ready to transfer the image, both grids have the equal number of boxes. So the 1, I like to put the 2 in the same spot, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the 1 is there again here, so I'm going to go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that's how you make the grid. Good luck!